Look in the sky. You can see the horses and the chariots, they ride out. I can see it in your eyes. Know you look scared, baby, don't be scared, it's alright. Just look at the size.
All right. Peace, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries Bible Study. My name is Elder Jeffrey Blair, and I'm part of the leadership here in the St. Louis branch of Israelite Nation.
Awesome. That's awesome. I'm Sarah Blair. I am also in the St. Louis branch. And I'm just happy to be here. Happy to get started on this Friday night. Happy to start this conversation. Can't wait to see the comments, what you guys are like talking about and engaging in. So yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. It's good to actually participate and to be able to contribute, right? I mean, so many benefits we get from listening to our brethren at headquarters, Atlanta branch, the New York, New Jersey branch, the UK. Just listen to our brothers and the different perspectives that they have and the different things. It just really has been very beneficial and I say necessary, especially during these past, I guess, almost 2 years now.
Wow, 2 years.
That we've been unable to meet. Yeah. I mean, I will say I miss meeting. I can't wait until we can meet. But for now, I think this has really been very, very helpful to me.
Same. I know it's crazy how, the week gets very busy, but it's crazy how hearing from our brethren around the world, how in sync we are with messaging. Like, it always seems like that's exactly what I needed to hear at that point in time. Right. In the distance, how that doesn't even affect how, like, in sync we are about feelings, what we're going through, messages, things like that.
That's a good point. It's so true. It is so true. Like, you listen to it and I may not always get to listen to it or watch it at the time when it's aired, but I may go back to it and I may get a piece or whatever and then I'm like, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah,
like,
crazy.
Yeah, it's so. It's
like, are you in here? Like, what's going on? I'm feeling so like you're talking exactly to me. It's crazy.
But that reminds me about who we are as we're in one accord, right? Yeah. One spirit that we have. It's not multiple spirits that we have, but it's one spirit that we have that allows us to be connected, to our brethren throughout the world. And so even though we are geographically distant, we're actually in sync. Yeah. And that's a beautiful feeling to remind yourself about that.
Definitely. Especially, I feel like this connection we all have is so important in the world we live today, where there are so many, phones, television, there's more people on the earth now than ever. It's like so many distractions that have different ideas of how to live and what's important to them that could pull us each direction. So it's so important to continually watch Friday nights and be engaged on Saturday lessons and make sure you're talking to the branch around you so that you can stay connected to that message and be in sync, because it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So if these lessons have been empowering you in your journey of understanding yourself, the God of Israel, and in Israelite history and culture, then press sevens in the chat. Press sevens in the chat, just so that you can tell. Let people know. Let all the individuals who've actually taken time out of their schedule to put together lessons and to put together, these opportunities to teach and to answer questions and to help. Right? It's like all of us joining hands together to really help push this forward. It's not on one person's shoulder or just two people's shoulder. Like, we all are doing our part to really push this forward and to be that light to the world. So let's hit those sevens and those fires for all the teachers that have contributed to this platform and to help being that light to the world.
Definitely. And we know it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. We all have some sort of a life or job or work or school outside of what in this room and what it takes to create these lessons. But we all put that aside to commit and put time towards this so that we could reach all of you guys and make sure that connection is there, especially during COVID and especially when we can't meet in person. Right. So this is really all the connection we have to each other. Yeah. Where we could talk and learn from each other. So
it's good. And there's two. I think there's two benefits, right? There's one for internally for us that are, a part of the nation, for our brethren to stay connected and to really remind us of a lot of these concepts and precepts. There are many times when the topic is about Abraham. Oh, I know the story of Abraham. Yeah. I know that backwards and forward, whatever. But yet and still I'm like, oh wow, that's an interesting concept.
That always
oh
happens.
wow, that's really, it's a reminder, and it's a good feeling that I'm learning something new. Like, I don't know if I've forgotten it or I don't know, but it really energizes me to continue on. It's like, wow, don't think you know it all. You got to keep listening, and it's not just reading, but it's also listening to other people's perspective, because people can do it in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I grew up. I was offered up in the nation, so my whole childhood was learning about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and kind of the core values of our ancestors. But literally every time I go back and read those same stories, I'm like, I know that story. I grew up on it. I see something different. I'm like, whoa, like this person did this thing. I don't remember that. Like, it's crazy. How just things like can show up that you just haven't seen before, and how much value that adds again to the story of our forefathers.
I think a part of it makes sense. There's the old saying, the same man never walks into the same river in the same way, because the second time he walks into the river, he's a different man, and it's a different river. Right? Like your body's always changing, right? And the river's always changing. The water that was here yesterday is down there. There's new water coming in. So it's always new. I just say that to say that, like, it's similar. Like, okay, when I'm 7, I'm hearing the story of Abraham. I'm always learning by relating with what I understand, what I know, what's going on in my life. I kind of put those together, and I'm like, oh, okay, I learned it. Now that same story at 14. Because of what I'm going on in my life and where I am in my maturity, it's going to take a different perspective. It's going to click in different things, and then not just maturity, but just what's going on in your life at that time. So it's just interesting to see how that happens.
Definitely. I think our ears are open to concepts differently from the different stages of life. As you were talking about, 7 is a great stage. We have importance on stages as we have a feast to commemorate those every 7 years. But if we actually look, and that's why the God of Israel is amazing, because the stages, they actually include just different levels of development that are vital for us as human beings in general, or as just Israelite. That like 0 to 7 is something necessary and different in a foundation for 7 to 14, which is different and a good foundation for 14 to 21, and so on and so forth. So of course, every time you read or every time you engage in something that you thought that you once did before, it's going to come from a different perspective, because you developed and you grew from that last stage. You learned a lot, and you're bringing something new onto the table now. So the words take different meaning in different contexts. You can really, absolutely. I think that's true. And it's like, so like I said, there were 2 really big benefits of having this forum, is for us as brethren to be able to just continually revive ourselves and remind ourselves, and to have opportunities to continue to learn about ourselves and connect with what's going on in our life with with spiritual word, right? But also the benefit is to be that light. So that, if you think about it, unless you were near a branch, one of our branches, the chances are probably slim that you would necessarily have connected with us. But now, because we're focused, like our energy, 80, 90, 100% online, we're really pushing this out. We have a chance of really expanding our connection to like the whole world. And so that's why it's important when we talk about comment, when we talk about likes and fires, subscribe, notifications, and shares. It's not just that we just want to increase our numbers. The more we do that, the more we can shine this light all throughout the world. And so if you're finding any value in this, please make a commitment to absorb, of course, but also share, like, comment, so that the more that happens, the more then that algorithm can allow us then to be that light even greater and greater throughout the world. That's a little bit that you can do to contribute in a similar fashion that we as teachers are here, contributing as well. It's a team effort. It is. It is. You can't be Israel by yourself.
Absolutely.
None of our laws allow that to happen.
That's right.
It's amazing how the foundation of Israel is built. Like, even when we had tribes in our biblical times, every tribe had a role. So you literally couldn't even do it without the entirety of your family.
That's right.
And
one of the questions, like, why would you want to?
Right. Why would you want to do feasting by yourself, or just keep it to yourself? It's a gift that we need to share.
Absolutely.
All take part in.
No, that's true. It's true. I mean, I think in the world we live in is a very individualistic commercialized type of world where it's like me, you know, whatever. But, you know, I think the idea of understanding that, you know, you're part of something bigger than yourself can really bring a lot of purpose and in your life, right? And some contentment, you know. I think sometimes the obsession of self ends up being the foundation of a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and a lot of different things can take care, you know. We kind of see that even over the past COVID times that's been going on, where people are isolated and disconnected. And when you're left to your own devices and you're not connected to people, you're not, sometimes even forcing yourself to be with other people, man, that's a crazy place to be. You don't know what's going to happen.
I can definitely relate to that. I'm an extrovert. And for those of you that identify as extroverts, let me see some sevens. Let me do some identification because we need to stick together. Us extroverts, we gain, if you start the day with anxiety, we gain like calmness and peacefulness from interaction from other people. Like it
feeds you.
It feeds us. It adds to our peace. So I definitely get that. Like if you're by yourself, things can go a little stir crazy.
Absolutely.
Because you only have you to bounce things off of, and that just leads to like a dark hole of like, where is this gonna go?
Yeah. I mean, everybody thinks they think the best thing, but it's not until we kind of share, like you said, the power is in the numbers, right? The power is in us coming together, right? Our separation is actually a part of our curse, and so we really want to see, you know, looking for opportunities where we can come together and empower one another. You know, it's so important. But you know, so those are two things. The value, I think, internally allowing us to stay connected, but also the second one is also externally allowing us as a nation to really be that light, and to really allow people that may just be cruising, or maybe they just found out a little bit about Israel, or they just want to know more, that we're here. We're here every week, and we're here to not just give these you know, one-way lessons, but connect with us, ask us questions. There's a form down below if you really want to even take further steps to say, well, how can I be an Israelite? You know, how can I connect with you? How can I be part of the family? Isn't that beautiful? It's like we have a lot of pride in our family, right? I will honestly say, I feel that we have the greatest family on earth because we serve the greatest God that there is. If you think this is the greatest family on earth, then put sevens in there and put fires. All right? All right? Really. But the beautiful, and some people think that's vain, but the beautiful part about that is, but the door is open to add more. So if you're listening to this and this appeals to you, and if this lesson or any other lessons, the door is here for you to enter and become a part of this royal priesthood. You're not going to find it anyplace else on the internet or anyplace else, right? Exactly. So you have an opportunity right now. If the Spirit is, you know, you feel it, you know, if you're connecting, like don't wait, you know, don't wait till tomorrow. Today, connect with us and allow us to help you on that journey to be a full-fledged Israelite, to be part of the family of the God of Israel.
Yes. When we're talking to you directly, people watching, it's amazing.
Don't be like, well, me. I'm talking to you. Exactly. Make that commitment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think it's very fitting, this transition into a more like centralized message of like online streaming of lessons. We live in a world of technology. That's just the reality that we live in. And with all of these distractions of what technology can bring, it's great that we have such a positive example of what messages can come from technology and how we can
use the platform.
Use the platform.
That's right.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think that's great.
Absolutely. So that's good. So you know, this kind of goes in line with kind of our topic today, which really is staying connected. Staying connected, you know, and it's one of those things that, you know, if I can have in my mind that like, okay, I want to do this, but if I don't stay connected, then how successful will I be in my desire to, you know, accomplish whatever that could be, you know? And a lot of it's because, again, we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of distractions in this world, right? There's a lot of distractions. We kind of went through how we go through first cycle, 0 to 7, and it's sort of like, well, whatever your mom do, you does. You know, parents. Even I do the same thing. Mothers and fathers. Whatever your mother and father do, you do, right? So whatever your parents do, you do. But then as you go from 7 to 14, you start to venture out more. You're going to school. You're being introduced to other friends that are not Israel and don't have any understanding of Israel. You're being introduced even to a curriculum at school that may challenge some of the things that you learn at home or learn through Israel. You start that, right? And so that could be places where the seed can start like, I wonder, you know, I wonder, it can kind of pull you away a little bit, right? And then from 14 to 21, the next stage, which is puberty, where it's a naturally rebellious period anyway, right? Just regardless. And now you're fully engaged into the world and to all these things that are going on. And it's easy, again, to kind of see, okay, that could pull away, right, a little bit. But it's just not just a young person thing. I'm just talking about any stage, not just through maturity, but even just living our lives. As an older person, just the cares of life, my career, my business, just all those things, just what's going on in the world politically, just the whole COVID thing that's going, just everything. It takes so much time and investment. There's not enough hours in a day to do everything I need to do. That's literal. Like, I'm not I'm not just saying literally. That. I try to do my to-do list. And at the end of the day, I probably threw a small percentage of those things, right? Yeah. Because I cannot do everything.
It always carries over to the next day, and then you're like, "There's 24 hours is not enough."
That's not enough. That's how I am. If you guys can relate, just put some sevens in there to say you can relate. It's just, I feel myself just being busy and busy, just so many things trying to juggle. Yeah. And then on top of that, taking time out to always invest in my spirituality is, I'm gonna be honest, hard. Yeah. It's difficult. Yeah. It's difficult. There are many times, again, Friday night's coming up. I got to finish this report, or I got to do this, or I got that. Or I'm just so tired from all the running around, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can even stay up or focus on what's going on. I'm just being honest. There's so many distractions.
Yeah, I think that's just the reality of even the world we live in today. I mean, most of us are in the land of our captivity in America, and that's kind of the way it's designed. It's not designed to aid in our spirituality whatsoever or in our foundation. So acknowledging that, I think that is so important, so that you don't get sucked into the worldly values and to that kind of life, because that's, unfortunately, that's the cycle our forefathers have gone through so many times, and we have seen the end result of that, how it always leads to punishment of some kind, you know? So we see how easily, biblical times, there was not as nearly people or distractions or ideas, contradictory stuff out there as there is today. So imagine how hard we have to work in order to stay on just the distractions. Literally.
In my hand.
Yes.
It's in my hand.
You're watching this.
Even now, it's not far from me. It's right here, right?
Right. You're watching this on YouTube, which has so many suggested clips after this one.
Exactly.
And even before, when you're trying to find this video. So it's like,
so while you're watching that, you're seeing, what's over here?
Yes. And everyone's probably, throughout this lesson, probably checking their phone every now and then. It's beeping, So it's just,
it's crazy.
You have to try 10 times more than our forefathers.
Absolutely.
It's crazy just to stay connected and stay hearing the words and wisdom of our brethren.
Yeah, if it's hard, it's okay. Don't think there's anything wrong. That's a part of it. And, that's a part of the effort. One of the terms that came up was in one of the meetings I was having is nothing valuable is ever gained without sacrifice. Nothing valuable is gained without sacrifice. And what does sacrifice mean? I mean, giving up something that you maybe care about, that have value to you. And so sometimes, just whatever it is, it's not necessarily anything bad, right? It's your career or your job, or it's your family or your husband or wife or children, or your bills or your business or whatever it is, your health. I mean, it's important stuff. So it's not trivial. It's not always an easy decision about what you need to do, but you have to continually really focus on that and understand that from time to time you got to make the commitment that I am going to sacrifice some of my comfort so I can invest in my spirituality. You have to make that. That's the only recipe for success as an Israelite. You have to do that, and so that's a part of that process to do that, of staying connected. Right? Is you're gonna have to do that in the world we live in. If you just when I have time, it's like you'll never have to. It'll be less and less and less. You have to make that commitment.
Yeah, and we always have to go back to Israel and go back to that source. If you think about just the trajectory of our history and our ancestors, time and time again we've been disobedient to the God of Israel, but every time he knows what's important and comes back for us. He always comes back for us, never turns his face away from us for too long. And even Solomon talks about it in his prayer, like if we're ever going through something, but we turn towards you and put our hands up towards you and towards the east and pray towards you, remember our forefathers, remember the commandments, and remember the covenant that you made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We are your children. Right. So it's even built in. Hey, look, you may stray off, you may, and that happens. But you can come back. Right. There's ways you could come back. It's outlined. Hey, you never forget your source, the God of Israel.
And this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes.
Right. So many times individuals, especially people that come in new, they're like, oh, they're so exciting, which is good. So the energy and the excitement and passion of new people who are coming down this path. It's impressive, and it's even contagious. Yeah. And it helps us that's been here for a while to say, oh wow, the renewed energy of what that is. But we also counsel, it's like, okay, but pace yourself. Like, you don't want to douse that. You want to pace yourself because there are times when you're not going to feel that energy. And do you have enough investment and commitment into this journey that even when I'm not feeling that high, on that high, and it kind of goes down a little bit because we don't stay. If you stay high 24/7, I don't know what type of person that is, but that's not doable. It's
not normal.
It's not normal. But you're gonna go up and down. But to go through those times, and to make sure, I think back to when the God of Israel appeared unto us at Mount Sinai. And remember, the mountain was on fire, and there was smoke and lightning and thunder, right? And this is it wasn't like how you see on TV where it's like, ooh, just like a beautiful, peaceful feeling. No, it was fearful. People were like, I don't want to go see this guy. Yes. You go talk to him, Moses. Yeah. But in that he's making that covenant with them, and he's saying, if you'll be my God, if you'll be my people and be obedient to me, then I will be your God. And I will bless you, and you will be the greatest nation, on earth, right? Yeah. And I will have my kingdom there, right there with you. And they all said, absolutely, we're gonna do it. So you can imagine, being on the high. Yeah. Like, yeah, absolutely, we're gonna do it. Yeah. How long did it take for them to actually go back on their words? Yes. Right? Oh my God. So they were on that emotional, spiritual high, and you can imagine. I think most, if not a majority, were 100% sincere. 100%, right? I think, in my thought, like, I think in their mind, like, absolutely, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. I'm committed. But, it didn't take long. A little bit of rough went along the way before they were like, just going the other way. Yep. It didn't take long. And I think a lot of times we can point our finger at them and say, oh my goodness, these terrible people, but they're our family, so please be respectful to my family. Right. But we got to really look at ourselves and see, that there are probably times that we fall into the same trap too.
Yeah, they're our ancestors, so a part of them is in us.
What's elders say? Cut my veins, right? That's we're them, right? So we point the finger at them. We got to point the finger at ourselves and just make sure, he without sin throw the first stone, right? Definitely. So, but I think it's a message to us that we have to watch ourselves and be careful and don't just go on the emotional high, but also go on what are you committed to. And again, without sacrifice, we can never, attain anything worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I think that point you made about our ancestors probably were like, let's Israel, like, so strong about it.
We just defeated Egypt, the greatest nation on earth. Exactly. We just like that. So
on the way down from Mount Sinai, they're probably feeling good. Yes, we got this.
Feeling good.
So it must have been, and you said not long after that did they, make the golden calf, right? So it must have been an idea that sparked something and spread, right? Yeah. And I think that even shows the importance of who you surround yourself with, and who you have access to, because ideas, they do grow and they spread, and you could see how it turned out in Moses' time, where at the end, I believe it was like 3,000 men that were celebrating this golden calf and declaring that that's actually who brought them out of Egypt. So that's a lot of people. I mean, that's a lot of people, and for that just to be to have that strong start of like Mount Sinai, like we're Israel, and then to end up in that way, it's devastating. And it, like I said, it just shows the importance of like the strength you need to have around you to even combat those like contradictory ideas.
So the emotional high of today does not guarantee your commitment going forward. You have to be committed even during those times when you may not feel like it,
or even someone telling you to go the other way.
That's right.
Or
exactly. So you really have to do that, and that's for us. us. That's a lesson for us. Look back in your life and the times that you've ebbed and flow, and you got to be like, I got to stay on it. I got to stay on it. But this is the beautiful thing. You're not by yourself. You're not, and I'm not just saying this in people, that we all go through the same thing and can help and support one another. You're not by yourself, because that is the reason that our culture is here, to keep us on this path.
Yes.
Right? So that even though we may go ebb and flow, every month we have new moon. To like, oh man, yeah, I kind of was not really investing in my spirituality this month, but I got a new moon. Let me at least for this day, let me, for this month, let me, I got Sabbath coming up, right? And this is going to be airing, during the month of Ethanim,
right,
which is our holy month. Ethanim is the 7th month in our Israelite calendar, and in this month we have multiple Sabbaths. We have a blowing of trumpets, we have Day of Atonement, we have the Feast of Tabernacles. I mean, we have a lot of things going on, and we have that here, that whole structure of us, Passover, Sabbath, new moon, Ethanim, it's all these feasts that we have all throughout the time. It's not just just there just as a date. Right. It's there because it helps structure our lives and keeps us on the straight and narrow. It does. Keeps us on the straight and narrow. Right? Keeps us on the straight and narrow. So that we have these sort of checkpoints that we can go through. One, connect with each other, right? Because we're going to Sabbath, we're not going to do it by ourselves. We're going to connect with everybody, or new moons or anything like that. And secondly, check ourselves at that time to kind of see, oh wow, where am I in my journey and my maturity as Israel?
Definitely. I think this is the month for that. If any month, we have atonement in this month where it really is about individual progress and where you are with your own spirituality, right? Kind of reflecting on how this past year went. That's
the focus.
Yeah.
The focus is you. The focus is on you and being very sober minded on where you are and where the God of Israel needs you to be, right? And it's right there, it's exactly halfway through our year.
Yeah.
Right? So you think about the beginning of the year is Passover, New Year. That's the beginning of our nation. This is our remember what I said earlier, the commitment to the God of Israel. Will you be my people and I will be your God? And they said, absolutely, we're going to serve you. Right? That was then. That was New Year, Passover time. And then exactly the 7th month, then you have an opportunity again to kind of like, okay, where are you with those commitments? You know what I'm saying? Where are you? And in your growth? And where are you in maturity? Right? There are many times in the scriptures where it speaks about, you guys are still babes and you should be, consuming, hard meat.
Right.
In other words, you shouldn't be stagnant, but you should be growing. And the way you grow is by investing time. And again, without sacrifice, you can never gain anything of value. Right. So just really, really investing in that.
Definitely, yeah.
So the culture is here for that. The culture is here to help you and to keep you on that straight path.
Yeah.
That's what's so beautiful about it.
Culture even built in like priests and elders in our very own branches, so we could always get that connection and get that food of the greater nation and what that message is, and that get instructions and make sure that we are abiding by the laws of our forefathers and the God of Israel. That's so absolutely important that we have that structure.
Absolutely.
It's very intentional.
So it goes back to where we said about we have elder, of course, the shout out to Elder Shadrach. We have Priest Andal. We have the Supreme Council. We have all the priests and elders as well. We have all the other teachers throughout the branches that just, our only reason we're doing this is to help each other and to help even new people in this journey, right? In this path to stay connected, and to stay investing in your spiritual growth, so that you can truly, become and reach your full potential as an Israelite.
Yeah, I mean, like we kept saying before, you cannot do this alone. No. It's not an alone thing. It's not an individual journey. It's all of us together, right? Connecting and making sure we have that source and being able to be fruitful and be successful in our journey as an Israelite. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think maybe we'll go to John 15. Yeah, that kind of. So we were. Was it Sabbath?
It was Sabbath.
It was during Sabbath, and we actually were reading John in 15, and it was kind of how this topic even came about just staying connected. Yeah, because we read through it and it was like, wow, this is pretty good for us. So let's turn to John 15.
We'll start at verse 1.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, and we were talking about before how you don't even know sometimes what lessons bring and what you could actually, and how intentional and how perfect reading something or watching one of the lessons is in your life for that moment. You didn't even know before that it was going to impact you like this. This was one of those on Sabbath. Yeah, it just reminded me of what's important.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start?
Sure. Verse 1. I'm the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. So here, I mean, just to start off
let's
here.
start there. Let's start right there.
I mean, there's a lot we can pick out there.
As I always said, who's speaking, who's speaking to, and, right? Okay.
So this is Jesus speaking, Jesus the Christ, right, specifically. And he's speaking to the disciples, I believe, right? And throughout the Second Testament, Jesus is always speaking in parables and even just like connecting and teaching the disciples. Metaphors, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is one of them.
Yes, exactly. So you got the vine,
yep,
and you have the husbandman, right?
Husbandman, right.
So what's a husbandman?
I believe it's someone that tends to the vine.
That's right.
They choose which ones are fruitful and they can continue.
Right. Which
ones need help and which ones just aren't good enough to continue. They're just gonna kill off more vines.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I mean, it's more specific than a farmer, but that's the concept.
Yeah.
He's tending the vine.
Yeah,
right?
he tends to it.
So and he planted it.
Yeah.
And he has a purpose for it. So that's the Father.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, here's a couple things. One is the metaphor that's used, and that metaphor of earth and the creation and plants and trees representing this relationship, and even Israel, as we get to it, is a common theme that we see, over and over again, right? Common theme that we said. Even I think from the beginning you had mentioned this earlier about in Genesis.
Yeah, in Genesis, how everything, the fowls in the air, the beasts of the land, even Adam himself, came from the ground.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things where I looked back and I'm like, whoa, I never noticed that before. That
Adam was.
Yes.
Right,
I knew Adam because that's just something I learned as a kid. But I was rereading and I was just like, whoa, everything, even up in the air and down to everything, the trees, everything came from the ground.
Yeah.
That came from
out of
nature and dirt. Yeah. I thought that was amazing.
So your memory of the visualization was, and then he created the trees.
Yeah.
And you just imagine, boop, 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 just the trees popping up.
Yeah.
Or the birds didn't pop, but you're saying everything came out of the earth.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's the connection. So that's one thing, and we see that metaphor, and we can dig deeper into that metaphor.
And just to go off that a little bit,
okay.
Even if you think about, I mean, now sometimes we don't know where our food comes from, but back in agricultural society, we came from the earth, and everything, our substance is again from the earth.
Right.
Animals, plants, the ecosystem, it's all a cycle that is just continually giving and taking from the earth.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
just want to point that out because everything is so purposeful.
That's, it's funny. That's a good point because, a lot of times children, even us, we forget. And we're like, oh, it comes from the supermarket.
Yeah, it's all packaged.
It's all packaged. It looks pretty. It's all whatever. Like the idea is like, no, this was in the dirty ground at one point, right? And that's where it's from, you know. And it's just things are so packaged this way. That's what it is, right? But it's just interesting. So the point is that the metaphor is being utilized, and that's like we talked about earlier. Whether you're a child or even an adult, when you're trying to teach someone a new concept, you always have to relate it something new to what they already know.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta use something they already know, something they're familiar with, so then I can, through that metaphor, through the analogies, hopefully they can understand how these new concepts relate to one another.
Yeah.
Right. So in this time, which is definitely an agricultural age, the idea of a husbandman, absolutely know what that is.
Yeah.
They're very close to the earth and to the ground, so they know all these. They understand intimately what these relationships are like between weather and between the soil and the value of the soil and the seeds and the seasons and new moons and all that, because all is dependent upon one another, right? And so, So anyway, so we see that, and the other piece to this again is this separation, and just one of the concepts that some people outside of Israel think about is Jesus Christ being God or not God, or this concept of Trinity or any of those type of things that we see here. This definite separation. Yeah. Jesus the Christ is what?
The vine.
The vine. And the Father is who?
The husbandman.
Separation. So you see that, right? Even the husbandman is like in a total different dimension than the vine.
Yes.
The vine is something that's created, let's say, or something that's has a purpose. We're going to see that in a second. But you have these distinction here, different roles, responsibilities, not even on the same category.
Definitely. No, definitely. It's crazy. But even in that, you see how the vine...
We're just on verse 1. That's
I know. There's so much you can get from this.
Exactly.
And this can even go to the... And after this, we can continue reading.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it's awesome. It's just amazing to see the connection. Even though there's separation, there's still connection. Like the vine couldn't exist without the husbandman. But even the husbandman would not be who they are without the vine.
Right.
Yeah, just the
For
connection.
purpose.
Yeah,
Right,
purpose.
right.
Everything's very intentional.
Okay, it'll bring that out. Okay, good. Verse 2.
Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, and it may bring forth more fruit.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's. Yeah.
It's
go ahead. Might as well. Let's take our time. I mean, it's okay. Let's take our time. Go ahead. But I remember this is one of the. Was it you that had the question, or someone else about the whole purgeth?
Purgeth. What that kind of meant. Because it talked purgeth. I kind of associate with like getting rid of, and it talked about in the branch that beareth fruit that were successful in their job. They're the one that's being purged. So I remember having a question about that, but we kind of resolved it saying that is the job of a husbandman that tends to vines.
Right.
Is that they have to make a way for new growth. And it's not getting rid of, but it's kind of like, I think it's like moving it.
Pruning.
Pruning, that's the term I'm looking for. Pruning.
Yes.
So that you use the good branches to produce even like more fruit.
Absolutely. Good point. So just imagine, and this goes back to kind of like purpose. And so the husband planted this vine for a particular purpose. It could be grapes for a vineyard or whatever it's for. And so they plant. So, you do everything that you can to make sure that the vine has branches that come out and that the branches bear the fruit, whatever that fruit is. And so, but if you just left it like that, just imagine how wild it would be. Right?
I mean, you can
vines just grow everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
you can just drive the highway and see the vines on the top.
All over the place.
All over. There's no
place.
structure.
It would bear some stuff, but it wouldn't be optimized. It wouldn't, right? It wouldn't be to its full potential.
Right.
Well, because the husbandman is really like, imagine if you don't care and you just throw out this vine and just go away, you don't care, like, oh, whatever, I don't really care. But if this is an investment of yours, right? If you're trying to build a winery or something like that, this investment of yours, then you're out there every day trying to make sure that there's no bugs, make sure that there's no pestilence or anything like that, make sure there's enough water and irrigation, the sun is right, that it's getting it. And then as it grows, you're going to look at the various vines and you're going to see, oh, wow, this one is not really producing anything, but this one is. So I'm going to take the ones not producing because it's taking valuable resources away from the root. It's taking some of the nutrients. It's taking some of the water. And so when I do that, and I take that away, it maximizes the ones that are bearing fruit. So now instead of maybe having 5 or 6 yield, it may have 10 or 20 yield through that action of purging. Right. So it's not just to maintain it, but it's also to maximize the output. So that's the whole pruning purpose.
Definitely.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. But you can imagine this explanation wouldn't have been necessary for the people back here, right? Because
they know
this is what they do.
They know what the agricultural society. They know what kind of happens with the vine,
and that's the point of a metaphor. Is that I'm trying again to give you the sense of this relationship that I'm explaining to you in terms that you can understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
So well, I guess even just talking about the meaning of the verse. So we have this analogy and this imagery of a vine. Person that mends the vine, and off of the vine comes the branches.
Correct.
So if the vine is Jesus the Christ, the husbandman is the Father, the branches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who are the branches?
Who are the branches?
That's a question. Open-ended question?
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see. First person to put in there.
Yes.
Gets a prize.
Yes.
All right. Let's give it a second. Let's see. First person. Let's see. All right. So the God of Israel is the husbandman.
Yep.
Jesus the Christ is the vine. Who are the branches? All right, so let's see. I'm sure. I'm imagining.
I know. I'm like waiting for an answer as if it's gonna come.
All right. Okay. Well, spoiler alert. Okay, so now
hopefully
you got the right.
This answer was in the chat, but it's us. It's Israel.
Yes.
It's the children of Israel.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, it's going to explain that.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Now in verse 3, now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me.
Okay, so
Okay.
That's a lot of E's in there,
A
right?
lot of
But are you following though to kind of what he's saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it talks about the relationship of the branch and the vine.
Right.
Right. So it says that they are clean through the word of Jesus the Christ, talking about the vine. But it's also saying the relationship. Hey, I and you as much as you're in me.
Right.
We kind of exist through and from each other because that's our source is each other.
Right.
And as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, right? If you just take a branch off of its vine and put it on the ground, you will not see fruit coming from that, not at all. So you cannot separate the two.
That's right.
At
you
all.
got to stay connected.
You have to stay connected.
That's right.
And then except it abide in the vine. So yeah, has to stay with the vine. No more can ye except ye abide in me. So that relationship. The branch has to come from the vine.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so keep going on 5. It kind of brings that out too.
5. I am the vine.
That's Jesus Christ speaking.
Ye are the branches.
Who's ye?
Israel.
Absolutely.
Us. Talking
Absolutely.
us.
Yes.
He that abideth in me and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me, ye can do nothing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So look at that. Let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
So when you absorb that,
I'm thinking
what's he trying to say?
So even if you just think of the imagery of a vine and you see a fruit attached to it, you notice all the components. There's the fruit connected to the branch, connected to the vine, connected to even the greater vine. It's not even just one branch that comes from a long vine. It's multiple branches with multiple fruits that all come together to form one structure of the vine. And it's the imagery in this is very gorgeous.
It is. Good word. Gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if we're the branches and we produce fruit, we have this knowledge in Israel in our beings, in our existence, that is coming from a source. And that source in here is the Jesus the Christ. Who comes from the husbandman.
That's right.
Which is God of Israel.
That's right.
So there's a structure, there's a level there
Right.
that just makes sense when you think of the image, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, to me, also, when I see this, is also coming out of Christianity, again, there's this, just perspective and how you outline the relationships and the hierarchy that we have us as people, and then you have this deity of Jesus. And he's up there with, God of Israel.
Yeah.
That's not the imagery here, is it?
No, not at all.
Not imagery, right? We're the dirt together.
Yeah.
This is we're together with the job.
Yeah.
He was given. There's many times where he's like, oh, if this could pass for me, please let it pass for me, right? But so he understands, right, fully. And we all have a job to do, but we have to do it together in order to be successful in fulfilling the will of the husbandman, which our Father, the God of Israel.
Right.
And
Definitely.
so it's just the relationships between all those pieces kind of maybe helps us feel special. That
we have a role,
a major role.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it's this thing like the branch can't bear fruit without the vine. Well, guess what? The vine can't bear fruit without the branch.
Exactly.
Right?
They need each other.
Absolutely. The husbandman needs both in order to fulfill his thing. So we're an integral part. And so, again, if this is a path that you're following, let the importance, like the God of Israel is not going to invest time by waking up someone or touching their heart to see this truth, to open their eyes and their ears for a waste of time, right? It's an investment.
Yeah.
As I said, if you have an investment as a husbandman and you're trying to do a vineyard, I'm not going to waste my time with, some branches that are not going to do anything or some seed that's not good or whatever. I'm going to invest on those that I think, this is going to really be successful. This is going to help me. So if you're being touched by this, if you're on this journey, understand the God of Israel chose you to understand this. It's not that you're so smart and you figured it out or you're so lucky. The God of Israel chose you to be on this path and to be exposed to this truth. So really invest in that and take it seriously. Yeah, take it seriously.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of pride in that.
Absolutely.
To be the vine to be the branch that bears fruit.
Absolutely.
That's a huge amount of pride. You were selected for this for a reason. And for a job that you could handle. We all have the tools at our disposal, that source, again, to be able to handle this journey.
Yeah, we don't always know what that is until it's, the task is there before us. So,
definitely.
Keep going.
Okay, we are at 6. Okay. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned.
You don't want that.
If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. That's a power. That's a gift.
Absolutely.
To ask and you shall receive.
Absolutely.
To be able to have that relationship to where you can't even ask in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah, that's.
But think about that for a second. Let's back and think about it for a second, because we say that and we can glaze over that, but I want you guys to really think about what's being said. So in the beginning, it says, "If you abide in me, and my words abide in you." So let's start there, because there's always that. It's always like when we talk about the blessings, right? It's like, you be the greatest nation. But before being the greatest nation, there's an if, right? If you keep my covenant and obedient, then you will be the greatest nation. I will be your God and live with you, right? So similar thing here. I will answer you anything you want. I will give you whatever it is that you ask for. But the first thing you got to do, if you abide in me, and my words abide in you.
Yes.
So I think it's critical for us to have a clear understanding. What does that mean? For if ye abide in me and my words abide in you. That's the if.
I mean, I think we have to really talk about even Jesus the Christ's purpose in speaking and in talking in parables and in talking to the children of Israel and disciples at this time. It was we were in a time where we just weren't praising our God right. We weren't doing it at all. So we needed that guidance to deter us, to bring us back to the law, statutes, and commandments. He was there to remind us of our purpose and our identity. So when he talks about me, you abide in me, and what I say, he's talking about God of Israel's word and our covenant with the God of Israel and the commandments, the laws and statutes, and our brethren and the foundation of Israel, right? So if you're in that, and that's in you, well, then you're unstoppable, because that relationship was meant to be there, it was meant to happen. Yeah.
So what's working against that, as you start out from the beginning, are the distractions that are out there in the world. Is weakening our ability to be successful branches.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And so we have to be mindful of that to understand the investment that we have in abiding with Jesus the Christ and the words abiding in us, so that the teachings and his clarifications and his helping us, go back to the understanding. Because as you said, at that time, there were a lot of leaders in Israel,
supposedly
that were, had a lot of different, whatever it could be, prideful, political, power, financial, whatever it is, purposes that they were doing, and a lot of different things. They were leading the people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so the idea again was Jesus Christ would clarify those things, right? Clarify those things and help us and bring us back in line with not just, I'm sure they were doing Sabbath. I'm sure they were doing, obviously they were doing tabernacles. They were doing those things, but it was more than just the motions. It was getting an understanding of this relationship and the purpose that we have as Israel.
Yeah.
Right. One of the most powerful terms that was used in some of his preaching was, "Don't you know that you are the light of the world?" And the way it's said, it's almost like you're not living up to that, right? You're reflecting the world by being just like the world, as opposed to being the light. And the light is supposed to be in this world of darkness, as we can't argue that this is not a world of darkness. Are we being that light? You know what I mean? So it's that same question Jesus Christ is asking then. We can ask the same question now.
Oh, yeah.
Of ourselves.
Definitely.
Of ourselves.
Definitely. I think that's definitely where the reflection comes in as well. What's set in and built into our culture is that reflection. Hey, are we being that light today? Right. Are we being that light yesterday?
Right.
Where are we? What can we do next to kind of make sure that we're living up to our role and responsibility as Israel?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is not just a personal journey. This is a collective journey, right? It's not just, am I being the light? It's also, are we being the light? Are you contributing to the light?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So again, it's understanding that part as well. But, so you can see that, again, in giving this metaphor, trying to show the importance of that relationship, and that if we understand what our roles are in making sure that there's much fruit. So let's keep going, because I can go on and on. So let's keep going. Where were we?
At 8, I believe.
Okay, so we understand. So if you abide in me and my words abide in you, in other words, taking the understanding that I'm giving you as far as this relationship that we have with the God of Israel, and clarifying some of the things that were confusing to the people. Again, it's one of the things where at this point, no one here is saying worship Baal, right? We went back to during right after coming out of Egypt. It was like, oh, the golden calf, and later on, it's worship Baal or all these other, other gods of other people. Now they're not saying that, but the culture, some of those cultures have seeped in to Israelite culture, and it's confusing people to think this is what they should be doing when truly they should be doing this, and he's clarifying this.
Right.
Yeah. So. It's almost, to me, it reminds me of even what we're living through today. The culture that we live in now, a lot of it is not some foreign thing. It's a perversion of our words. Yes. A perversion of our book.
I mean, they use our book.
Absolutely, yeah. And many of us grew up with a perverted version of these concepts.
Right.
And so it's not just about Sabbath is no more, or you can eat pork, or those things, and those that's part of the perversion. But it's even the concepts of what it means to be an Israelite. This relationship we have, intimate relationship we have with the Father, as well as even with Jesus the Christ. You know what I mean? So it's a different way of looking and perspective about how Israel is a part of your life. It's not a religion, right? It's the DNA. It's our culture. It's everything. It's like there is no Jeffrey without Israel. Yeah. Like this can't separate the two, right? Yeah. Is that a symbiotic relationship?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Symbiotic. It's not asymbiotic. It's symbiotic.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's just it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's who am I without that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like so it's like that branch. What is the branch without being connected to the vine? You know. Anyway, so I think that's important for us to understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Okay. I hope you guys are connecting to what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So you can keep going then.
All right. So are we at 8?
Yes.
Yes. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples. As the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you, and continue ye in my love. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
I like that relationship.
Yes. It's a specific relationship. I think a lot of people out there would say, there's rhetoric that Jesus came from the world. He loves everybody. But he was very specific on who he was talking about from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
And my love is conditional.
Yes.
People use this term unconditional love. It's not unconditional. Yeah. What does he say? If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love. So I love you fully to the end of the world, but if you stop keeping my commandment, then how can I? What do I do? You know what I'm saying? I can. How do we build this relationship? You said earlier that the branch can't stay connected if it's not bearing fruit.
It's not. No. And even that 10 kind of talks about that relationship and that stepping stone as well. It's if ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in love, even as I, Jesus Christ, have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love.
That's right.
So again, that relationship.
That's right. Yeah. I hope you see it closer. Right? He's our brother, right? And you kind of see that closer. It's not a deity as kind of was out there in the world.
We're all part of the same plant in this. We're all connected all throughout. Right. Yeah. Right. So definitely. Neither of us would exist without the husbandman. So yeah, definitely.
That's right.
Okay. 11. These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full.
Whoa, is your joy full? If your joy is full by these concepts, please, that's the point, right? It's to have the joy to understand, especially us as Jacobites. We're Jacobites, as Black people in this land of our captivity, been through so much and being told so many negative things about ourselves and adopting so much of the culture around us, and so many things that we're under, is to understand that that we are truly the chosen people, of the Most High God, and that if we obey him and we turn to him, that then we can really truly find peace and joy and power and the ability to protect ourselves and ability to conceive things and create and build and come together, and just all those things. Like the recipe is here and just waiting for us to participate in that. Let's not let the distractions or fear or pride or all those things keep us away from our birthright. This is what's meant for us, right? And so we don't want to give this away or think about it trivial or put it on par with some other philosophy or something like that. It's not. This is an exclusive relationship that you are privy to. So don't discount it.
Yeah. And those emotions you were describing, joy, is that Jesus the Christ was talking about, and empowerment, those are not surface level emotions. Those are deep.
They go deep.
They go really deep, and that comes from carrying the laws and statutes deep as well. So, like, is their identity, right? It's not just religion, as you were saying. It's our culture and our ancestry.
Yes.
So if you live into that, like, of course you're gonna feel that, like, synchronage with your brethren. Of course you're going to feel that joy deep down and that empowerment, because you're just living into who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your purpose. Okay.
We are at
12.
Yeah. Okay. 12. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you.
There's that word "if" again. A small word, but it means a lot.
Yeah, and also the word friend. Like, what does that mean? Like, think about it in your life. The friends around you, what relationship, what do they bring to your life, right? Yes. It's a unique relationship. Every friends, like, they have they give you inspiration. They support you when you're down. They guide you when you need guidance. Absolutely. They shine that light when, like, they're there to help and guide you,
celebrate with you, cry with you, do those things. Someone that you really can count on. And it's one of those things, like, true friends, even if you don't speak to them every day, right? You have friends like that where it's like, I don't speak, but as soon as you get connected, you're back to that same deep, like, you know, like no you never, absolutely, changed. It doesn't matter. There's just a strong bond between you, right? Definitely. So again, Jesus Christ is not mincing words, right? And think about what an honor it is that this messenger from the Father is calling you friend. Wow. I know. It's like, I am? You're right, yeah.
Wow. And and he's still talking to us today. Like, he says if we keep his commandments, right?
Absolutely.
If we continue to do that, we can still be considered that relationship, right?
And, I mean, that's a part of the connection, right? Yeah. We say this all the time here in St. Louis. It's like, when we talk about the family of Israel, we're not just talking about the people that are here alive today, but our family is also those who have passed on, the generations, and even those that have not yet been born, the generations ahead of us. Yeah. So you think about when we're given the law, statutes, commandments from the very beginning, it wasn't even just a matter, okay, you do this, but it's you do this, and you make sure you teach your children and your children's children, so it can be perpetual. Yeah. We are a perpetual priesthood. And so the culture is in place to allow us to continue that. So whatever the promise is made to us is also made to our children and our children's children. So I love that. And again, the promise is there, but that big word is there too. If. If you do what I command you, if you keep my commandments, right? If you abide in my, so all those things. So there is a responsibility that we have. Yes. And we have to always keep that in mind. Yes, that's definitely what keeps us connected, is by keeping in mind of what are my responsibilities. So you think, as a friend, someone can from their perspective say, I'm your friend and willing to give you things and help you with this and do this, but the question is, if you're not reciprocal, how long does that friendship last?
It may take you a second to notice, right? But then when you do, it's like, how could I have not seen this before? They're not for me. They're not supposed to be in my life. They don't contribute vital things that I need into my life.
They're taking advantage, right, of someone's kindness or love or affection, but they're not, to the best of their ability trying to be reciprocal or caring or whatever. They're just taking everything I'm giving them and just going on living their life. When I need them, I can't hear them. When I call them, they're not there. When I'm doing that, but I'm there every time for them. I mean, that's definitely frustrating, right?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. And it's like, I went through something like that recently in the beginning of the year, where I felt like I was blind for so long to how my friend just wasn't contributing to my life or adding value to it. But once I did, there's nothing that she could have done that could have made me not see that.
Oh, I see.
Once your eyes are open to that, and in doing that.
So what kept you from seeing it at first?
Keeping on to memories. Like, there was feel-good memories that I had with this person, and and just hoping that is what our future is also going to look like. Right. And then you realize it's just a false connection based off of something that wasn't even there. Like, it
was on your hope.
It was on hope. Right. And so when you think of a true friend, it's more than hope. there's an actual deep connection there.
And
Right, there's a demonstration.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. You can say you're an Israelite all day, but if you're not keeping my commandments, then you can't call me friend.
Yep.
You know, similar thing. We talk about my brethren and my brothers. You know, if we don't serve the same God, I can't call you brother, right? I can't. I mean, because we're trying to be real precise and deliberate in how we communicate and the words that we use, because you know it's time for us to be serious about it. This is serious.
Yeah.
This is very serious for us. We're talking about our lives and our families' lives. And again, the promises are here. They're right here. It's not like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this? It's like, no, we don't have to think about that, right? All we got to do is be obedient. Be obedient, and then all these things opens up for us. And we have so many. I can testify to that on a personal level. So many people I know can, if you can testify of how being obedient to the God of Israel and following law, statutes, commandments, how it allows your life to open up. Like, and not to say it's easy, but you can see, wow, I see the blessings. I see the fruit like coming out of it.
Yeah.
And obviously, sometimes it could be more or less, obviously, I know, but I see that. Like, there's no debate about that.
Yes.
So that's on a personal level. But that same type of level of joy and it can also on the national level. As a nation, that's what's in store for us. By us coming together, staying connected, and being obedient as a nation, we're also promised that we're going to have joy. That we as a nation will pray and this will happen, and put our hands on something and allow it to build into these, institutions that we need for our nation. You know what I mean? Like so it's a beautiful journey, that we're on, and I'm just excited about it. So when Jesus Christ calls us friend, I take that very seriously.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't
and so just to finish that point, so not only am I looking for what my friend can do for me, I'm looking for what can I do for my friend?
That's a true friendship right there.
Right? I mean, that's a part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's if we're really friends, then we really want to see what can we do in order to really help him.
Yeah.
Like a friend doesn't always have to ask, right? Sometimes you're looking out for them to say, hey, hey, you could, I went to the store and I bought myself some. Hey, I bought them something. Or whatever. You're looking out for them. So similar thing. It's really trying to give your all to help them in what they're doing in the same way they're doing the same thing for you.
Yes, definitely.
As friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
15?
Yeah.
Henceforth, so we're at 15. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, and ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you.
I love that part, that first sentence.
Of 15 or 16?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you.
Wow.
What did they say?
Let that
Many
soak in a
are
little
called,
bit.
few are
Absolutely.
chosen.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Isn't that something? Just think about that for a second, right? Like, many of us who've been on this journey, and you kind of look at your life and see, oh, I did this, and then I went here, then I went there, and it feels like I did this, like I got myself to this point of whatever. But if you look back and if you're honest, you kind of can see it's like, no, I didn't choose the God of Israel. The God of Israel chose me.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
And to go down these things, this path, and these things happen. As they were happening, they seemed like random events, but they truly lined up to be, this is the script of what's going to happen. To bring me to this point in time. And so that's something that, hopefully you cherish and that you really see that. If you're on this journey, it's like you didn't choose the God of Israel. The God of Israel chose you. And hopefully.
It's so important to pay homage, of course, to him for making that contribution into your life as well.
Yes.
So definitely.
So let's keep going. I might as well keep going because there's a lot here.
Okay. 17. These things I command you, that ye love one another. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Mm-hmm. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because you are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I even, that kind of reminds me of today, in the world we live in today, because I think it's important, and you always say this, that they're not just stories in the Bible. They relate their ancestry, their history, but they also relate in reality to where we are today. So I always think it's important to bring it back. So I think we're in a society where every individual their goal is to kind of form into what the world thinks is acceptable. Like, even if you think of influencers, and that's like, there's like celebrities where they can like, they kind of set the standard of what's like acceptable. Hey, like buy this to be like this, or wear this. This is how your day should go so that you could be like me. But like, you see Jacobites, you see the children of Israel in America and all of the world. They don't really find success in that. Like, they're not really gaining anything from that. There's not. We're still in the state where we are. We're still receiving all these negativity from the world and racism and things like that. So we aren't really gaining anything from being a part of the world. And it said here, if ye were of the world would love you. But we have to fight tooth and nail for every equality and piece of justice that we gain in this world, right? Yeah. So I think that's a really, really important point.
Yeah.
Because we're not of the world, so why would they like accept us with open arms?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
We're stepchildren.
Yeah.
So and with that, there was a lesson done prior that had to do with a lot of times, even in your household, you may be one individual in your household who is on this path, and the others, your wife or your children or your parents, are not. They're following some other philosophy or whatever, and that causes tension, some hatred, and if that's a strong word in this area, but just sort of going to different paths, and it's tough. Tough to do that. And you see that that's nothing new. Even back here, Jesus Christ is encouraging them to say, listen, the reason that you're hated of so many people, and a lot of times this hatred, like, I don't think this hatred is about hatred from people outside of your community. Right. I mean, again, at this point, they're occupied by the Romans. So the Romans hating them is probably nothing new. It doesn't matter. I don't care about that. But their own people, right? In our terms, Jacobites that hate you.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
They hate you. And you're like, all I'm saying is telling you who we are. And I'm living my life by that. I'm not even bashing you over the head. But because I'm not following your philosophy, you hate me. Or you think I'm in a cult. Or you think something, very negative about me. So much so that sometimes some of us like, well, I may even share it because I know it's going to have negative connotations. People are going to think some terrible thing about me if I'm not following this philosophy that the whole world is following. You know what I mean? Like, and it makes you in that, it's just tough. I mean, even now, the holy days as they happen, can I take off work? Can I do this? Can I do these things? All these things I got to do. And it's like, wow, it's but it's like your own people. Like at this point in time, like you said, when Jesus Christ came, there was a leadership in place. There was a culture they were following, and he's what they call a disruptor, right? And he's like, no, it's not doing it right. It needs to be doing it this way. And the leaders then always are trying to catch him, and it ultimately killed him because of that, of being a disruptor. And so it's a similar thing that we have. So he's saying, the world, your quote unquote brethren, or people that look like you are going to hate you because of this.
Just for being you.
Because you're being obedient, and because you're my friend.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And because we're both following the God of Israel. So if we're following the God of Israel, then who are they following? Right. If we're following the God of Israel, who are they following? If we're friends with Jesus Christ and following the God of Israel, and again, many minority, but the majority, who are they following? It's tough. So they're hated then, and so many times we're hated now too.
Definitely.
Okay, so go ahead. Keep going. 20, right?
Yes, 20. Remember the word that I said unto you. The servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also. But all these things will they do unto you for my name's sake, because they know not him that sent me. Right.
Again, that kind of what I just said, right?
Yeah.
Where it's, we're following the God of Israel and his messenger. Who are they following?
Yeah.
They don't understand, and they ridicule because they're following someone else. They're not following the God of Israel. No matter what they say, they're not following him.
Yeah. And here also, we talk about the misinterpretation of what Jesus the Christ was in the world. It even says the servant is not greater than his Lord, right? We have this relationship where, like, the way they see me is the way they see you. Like, if I'm persecuted, you're persecuted. If you're persecuted, I'm persecuted. So it's like leveling, like, that kind of connotation that this isn't this all, like, ethereal being. This isn't God. This is this is you. This is like someone that has that relationship with you where whatever they do affects you, and whatever you affects them. So yeah,
it's a total different mindset.
Yeah.
Hope he elevates our thinking of ourselves.
Right. Definitely. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. 22. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. But now they have no cloak for their sin. He that hateth me, hateth my Father also.
Interesting. We can't jump over that. we got an interesting.
Yes.
So they say ignorance is bliss, right? Right.
They do say that.
Yes. How would they know unless you send a messenger to teach them, right? So that's what Jesus Christ, when he sent out the disciples 2 by 2, and he said, when you go, and if someone would not hear from you, then just dust off your feet and just keep moving because it's not for them. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting, right? It's a sort of if now that they know and you've said it and they reject. See, before they had a chance to reject it because there was no bearer of the truth.
Yeah.
Think about this for a second. There is no bearer of the truth, so there is no room to. I mean, part of our punishment is that we've been blind and we've been, dumb, blind and deaf and dumb, and so now as this light starts to open up during this end of the 400 years, and we're here coming out of captivity, and now this light is being shined, and the word is getting out, and we're talking to individuals. Many individuals, now that they hear it, now they have an opportunity to say no, to reject the word, to reject it, and it's a rejection of us. Right, as Israel, a rejection of the word, it's really a rejection of the spirit. Because I said before we started out earlier, it's the spirit that allowed you to even have this understanding. It's not that you're so smart or you figured it out or it's just lucky.
You were called.
As you said, absolutely, chosen to see this. And so there are people also, invitation is given, many are called, but few are chosen, right? And they choose, no, I'm not going. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to continue to follow this way, continue to follow that way. Wow, we need to be real thankful that the God of Israel was merciful to us to give us that heart and desire to really follow the truth.
Definitely.
All right? We really need to be thankful.
Can you imagine not living into your identity and who you are? Like, it seems so misplaced.
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to ever be disassociated?
To live the lie.
Right, live a lie. Exactly. So, right. Right? It says what? They have no cloak for their sin. There's nothing you
can't say. Oh, I didn't know. No, you can't say that.
You can't say that. It back.
That's right. No.
Yep.
Wow.
And it said, "He that hateth me hateth my Father also."
And that's deep, right? Because it's not personal. It's not. Yes, it's rejecting the Father. Because again, if we're the branch. And we're not adding anything to it. We're not putting any negativity into it or making it personal or prideful. We're just taking the truth as Jesus Christ has taught, or this understanding of Israelite Nationwide Ministries, the teaching of Elder Shadrach, Supreme Council, and Priest Ando. And we're just taking those things that we saw instrumental in our life that's transformed us and sharing that with others. And that ultimately came from the God of Israel. So it's the God of Israel's message coming through to me and trying to share with someone else.
Yeah.
So if they reject it, they're not just rejecting me, and sometimes I will take it personal sometimes, but try not to. Rejecting me, they're rejecting everything up the chain because I'm just the light. I'm not a light source.
No.
I'm just an extension cord of that light, right? Of that. And so it's tough.
Even take it back to the metaphor of the vine and the branch and the fruit in the husbandman. If you reject the fruit, you're rejecting the person that kind of
That's right.
chose that.
That's
chose
right.
That fruit
Absolutely.
in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which makes sense, right? If you
Yeah.
have a bottle of wine and you drink it, you're like, oh, I gotta know what he's doing. Growing this, I don't like his grapes
No.
or whatever. Like it goes back to
Person
reflect
created
upon
it.
the person
Yeah.
who created it, right?
Definitely.
Interesting.
Okay. 24.
Uh-huh.
If I had not done among them the works which none other man did, they had not had sin. But now have they both seen and hated both me and my Father.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of repeating what we
Yeah.
just said. But this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled that is written in their law. They hated me without a cause. But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceeded from the Father, he shall testify of me. Mm-hmm. And ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Absolutely. That's a deep chapter.
It is.
It's a heartfelt discussion that he's having with the disciples, and hopefully, with us, we kind of can put ourselves in there and see, it's a personal thing. It's like this isn't like to the world, right? This is just amongst us
to
to
family,
give us using that metaphor and that relationship between the husbandman, the vine, and the branches and the fruit, and hopefully that can understand what this relationship is like, for us as friends, and the things that we're trying to do, and why people outside of this circle is going to hate you because you're no longer a part of them, and you know what I mean? Like it's such a beautiful metaphor that we kind of hopefully it's helpful for us to really remind ourselves about this relationship that we have.
Definitely. I think it's so helpful even in my world, where sometimes when you go throughout these cycles that we talked about before, when you go throughout your day-to-day, you kind of get sucked into the day-to-day. You look at the details that approach you. You look at what's in front of you, and you forget the greater journey and the greater expectation. Like, of course there's going to be people that don't believe. Of course there's going to be people that kind of want to take you away from this path, and that's expected, and you're not alone in that. But there is a role and responsibility for you that you have that you're also not alone in. So it just kind of puts my life and other people in my brethren's life kind of in perspective of Israel, and that kind of that culture that is set there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's, I don't know, John 15, definitely a lot there. Maybe, guys can read through it again on your own. And maybe, if there's any concepts in John 15 that stick out at you. Again, everyone had different perspectives. As I said in a prior lesson, I love the idea of back and forth, not just a one-way conversation. Put some comments in there, definitely likes in the sevens, but also just your perspectives in a little brief paragraph about something that stands out at you in John 15 on this concept and this relationship of us as divine, as us as the branches, and Jesus Christ as divine, and God of Israel as the husbandman.
Yeah, I mean, talk to each other. I mean, that's what this section is made for. That's why we come to you in this way, so that we can communicate and make sure we are getting that food and that necessary knowledge from each other and share.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely make sure that that's there.
And, one thing too that we can get into, so we had some other things to kind of show the opposite of that, like being in one accord, being connected and staying connected, trying to, limit the distractions, and even beyond the law and the holy days, which are definitely, take those seriously, because those are helpful. They're meant for you and to empower you to keep you on this path. So take them very seriously. And but, going the opposite way of that, us being separated out from one another, is actually, that's a part of our curse. That's part of our weakness, part of our punishment, being disconnected. Yeah. And we had actually a lot of different stories we could have gone through, but I know we're out of time. That always happens. We have more stories. But I will, even Deuteronomy 28, I think that kind of really spells it out a bit.
Yes.
And it speaks about kind of our condition that we're in right now.
Makes it so clear.
Yeah.
So we don't have to question what happens when what. Yeah.
Deuteronomy 28. Let's turn to that really quick.
Okay.
We're not going to read the whole chapter. We're going to read a couple verses. Kind of speaks to what we're speaking about now. Let's see.
Okay. And what are we reading from?
So Deuteronomy 28. As we know, this is the blessings and the curse, right? If you go to the beginning, it speaks about when we're first established as a nation. And again, when the God of Israel comes to us and gives us the law, statutes, commandments, along with that, he also says, okay, now if you follow, again, that big word if if you follow these instructions I give you, you will be the greatest nation on earth, right? And all these blessings will come. Your children will be successful. You'll be able to protect yourself from other nations. You'll be gladness in the street. You'll be healthy. All these things will happen. And but the opposite will happen as well if you are disobedient. That all these curses will come upon you. That nations will come and take you away. That you go into enslavement. That all these various things would happen to you. So in this section of Deuteronomy 28 is one of these things that kind of explicitly speaks about this whole being separated as a part of this punishment, right?
Yeah.
So let's start at 64.
Great.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 64.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, in the one end of the earth, even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and a failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
Okay, let's just pause there a second and just digest that a second. Again, the punishment is if you are disobedient and don't follow my law, statute, and commandments. It's almost the opposite of what Jesus Christ is saying. It's like, again, if you're my friend, then you will follow my commandments because I got my commandments from the God of Israel, right? And so, but if you reject me, you're rejecting the God of Israel, right? So similar thing here. So he's just repeating kind of the same thing, right? Here, where the blessing and the curse. If you follow the laws and commandments, you'll be blessed individually and as a nation. And if you don't, then this is one of the things that happens to you as a nation. You will be scattered across, right? And you look at us today, we're scattered across the four corners of the earth. Right? Scattered. And that's a part of our punishment, being scattered. And it's not just about being scattered, but in those things, and then we're going to follow other philosophies and other cultures, which our fathers never knew.
And it said also we'll find no ease. We'll find no peace in doing this.
Right.
Unrest throughout doing this, too.
What does that mean to you? No ease. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest.
I mean, that's definitely an image of kind of Black people in America today. I mean, we have to work tooth and nail for every single piece of peace, a figment of peace that we get in our lives. We have to fight day and night for justice and equality, to feel like a person, a human being in this world, in this land. It's so hard. It wasn't even 100 years ago that we had like civil rights movement, when we're like, we are man. But like we exist.
Right.
We're people that need certain things that we just aren't getting. I mean, it's just that fight to exist, really. And that's what it means when I see no ease. You're just constantly in this
one thing after another.
Right. This state of like fighting.
The rabbit hole just continues down.
And you continue. You talk about there's this idea that anxiousness and trauma carries down generations.
Absolutely.
So you carry the trauma and the anxiety and the stress that your forefathers carried. So if it's continual and it's perpetual, there's not going to be peace, not for you, not your grandfather, not your grandchildren.
Right.
Which is it's deep.
And again, that's why this is so important that we're speaking about. That when we talk about understanding who you are and following for the truth, all this is happening to us because we don't know who we are and we're following the lie. Right? We're scattered amongst all these. Think how these two are together. We're scattered, not connected to the source. The branches have been broken off and scattered on its own.
Serve other gods.
And we're serving other gods. And then because of those actions, again, there's that big if. Because of those things, then that's why we have no peace in our life. Our soul cannot find rest. Trembling heart, failing eyes, sorrow of mind. Right? It's all tied to us being scattered and following the cultures that are around us. Because everywhere we are, we're a minority. Right? And so the dominating culture around us influences us so much that we follow that. And again, for so many years, we had no choice because we didn't know who we were. But now we have the opportunity to understand who we are. It's important, not important. I don't know if it's a bigger word than important. Critical, vital. It's life-saving. That there's a path now out of this. That's the beautiful thing, right? There's a path out of this. When you start this path down Israel, again, it's not cake. It's not easy. It's difficult. But you're going to get out of this you're going to find rest, right? And think about the Sabbath day. Think about, all those things that we do. It gives us an opportunity to just like, how many times have, again, talk about being busy, all throughout the week, doing this, got to do this, got to accomplish this, got to accomplish that, successes, failures, back and forth, or whatever. And then the holidays come and it's like, oh man, now I don't know. That's interrupting my rhythm. I got so much to do. I don't know. But then you're like, well, that's the commitment. I got to do it. And you do it. And you're like, this is what I needed. I needed it. My mind was like, oh man, I got so much to do. This is getting in the way. But you're like, this is exactly what I need. Yes. Like that, to me, that's emblematic of what we're speaking about, of getting rid of all of this, not finding ease and just being, in that rat race, and now being able to like just take a breath and focus on those things that are most important. That, to me, that's empowering. Yes. So let's keep going because we're almost there. And so good.
And 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. Again, that's describing the world we live in now. We can't even go outside without fearing for our life. We can't see a cop car without fearing for our life.
Or each other.
Yeah. You'll have doubt. You don't know who you are. You don't know what your existence means, right? So yeah, definitely we're not making this up. It's all here. It's very much here. Okay. 67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were the morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Oh man, that's trauma, right? That's like PTSD, right? I mean, that's you can't get any rest, right? Yeah. That's anxiety, that's depression, that's all these things that we suffer from as a people, and most of it untreated. And sometimes people self-medicate, and so you have a drug problem, or you have things that go into criminality or whatever. All this stems from this. This stems from, first of all, being disobedient to our God first, and then the scattering. So now we're weakened as a people. You are weakened because you're not connected to your source.
We have nothing to depend on.
And the things around us we are depending on obviously is not working. Not helping. Because these are gods and philosophies that are not for us, are not about us. We are we're more like fuel to that, right? We fuel it. They use our gifts. They use our muscle. They use our mind. They use all these things to power that system, but it's not being we're not being utilized in the way we should be. We're not, as a branch, we're not part of the vine that the husband wants us to be.
Right.
And so it's so now we suffer out there in here. And to me, to me, there's no other people on this planet that fits this characteristic today.
No,
than
definitely.
Jacobites and us and the Black community.
Yeah, I mean, even if we go on 68, it describes who the people we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto you, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Yeah.
Who is that describing?
Absolutely.
Where in history do we see a people carried through ships to another world, sold into their enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, so enslaved?
Absolutely.
That's a people, Jacobites. It's America. That's black people, and so it's definitely, there's definitely an intentional audience to this message, and intentional people of who we're talking about. And
so this is the environment that we're in. And then Jesus the Christ, we read in John 15, where in that environment, he's still trying to revive us, or those that will hear, those that are given that gift, right? The Spirit of truth will allow to enter in, that in this environment of uncertainty and anxiety and fear and just all these things and weakness and separation, the idea is, again, for us to come together again, right? So again, you can't be Israel by yourself. That's the part of that is a curse. That's the punishment, is to be Israel by yourself. The idea is for us to come together to build, empower one another, and come together to praise our God and our Father.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
We've got to always resort back to the source. It's important now more than ever when we're trying to build this nation and trying to push away all of the distractions of the world, that we got to find our source again. Find our brethren, depend on each other, lean on each other,
and stay connected. So let's see, I think we're right at time.
Yes.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed our discussion this evening.
I know I did.
I enjoy going. I know exactly. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
But it's just to just to stay connected. We live in a busy world, and we can sometimes maybe belittle the value of us coming together and gathering and connecting, even on this medium. But the idea that at the same time, or at least looking at the same message around the same season, there's some empowerment there.
Definitely.
And even now during this month, the month of Ethanim, as we go through, I pray that all Israel is protected. We pray that the God of Israel will guide you all, and that answer your prayers and allow us to really have a good and successful month of Ethanim, especially as we prepare us to go into this time of darkness.
Definitely.
So as this time goes on, we know the world is just more and more crazy, unpredictable. We have no idea, but I'm confident in our God and our Father and His culture, and I know that as long as we're obedient to our God, all will be well.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Look forward to hearing from you.
Definitely.
And in the fashion of my forefather, I salute you. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Peace.
Dun, 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 dun. Look in the sky. You can see the horses and the chariots, they ride out. I can see it in your eyes. Know you look scared, baby, don't be scared, it's alright. Just look at the size. There's more of us than to be with them, so we all look at the clothes. Pull up something like a ghost, rockin' all white. More of us than to be with them. Baby girl, you can be a friend. Come on, we gon' fight until the end. Baby, don't fold, don't bend. Put too much trouble on you. But one day you'll see it too. Got so much trouble on you. But one day we'll make the skies. You can see the horses and the chariots, they ride out. I can see it in your eyes. Know you look scared, baby, don't be scared, it's alright. So look at the size. There's more of us than to be with them, so we all fight. Look at the clothes. Pull up with something like a ghost, rockin' all white. Full of that, what the